Hey, what's happening, guys? Good morning, everybody. You guys have tuned into Rules for Rebels. It is early in the morning on Friday, March 10th, 2023. The weekend is here. Hope you guys got some fun weekend plans, or at least got the weekend off to hang with friends, hang with family, do something enjoyable. Today's video should be a relatively short one. There wasn't a ton of news over the past 24, 48 hours. Also, on Thursday nights, I play in a sand volleyball league, so I don't have a ton of time to kind of research the news and things like that. We do got some news to share with you guys today. I think one of the biggest stories of the day, GM, General Motors, wants to buy out the majority of their U.S. workers. They say they want to get rid of the majority of their 58,000 white-collar workers. Kind of crazy there. So it's interesting because, one, we're starting to see these layoffs spread beyond tech, spread beyond the mortgage industry, spread beyond the real estate industry, but also 58,000 employees. If you can afford to get rid of the majority of 58,000 employees, it kind of makes you question, what were these 58,000 employees doing for the past 6 months, year, 2 years, 3 years? If I'm a GM investor, I'm wondering, what the hell are you wasting my money on keeping 58,000 people on staff if you can operate with 8,000 people? If you guys know more details about this story, I'd love to hear it. I was meaning to kind of dig more into that. We're going to be talking about some more layoffs as well as more tech layoffs. That story of the Tummy Tuck 4, that's what they're being called, the group of Americans who went down to Mexico for a tummy tuck surgery. The Cartel members, or the Cartel assassins, which seem to be like a splinter group called the Scorpions, they were tied up and dumped in the street for authorities, and the Cartel has apologized to the Americans' families, as well as the Mexican woman who was caught in the crossfire. TikTok is starting search ads, and we got some other stories to share with you guys today. Before we get into today's video, shout out to the sponsor of today's video, QuickFixSynthetic.com. QuickFixSynthetic.com has a synthetic urine kit sure to help you pass your drug test. We're entering a much tougher job market, and it's getting tougher and tougher to get jobs. Sometimes you come upon a job that wants to drug test you, and maybe you can't pass a test. Check out QuickFixSynthetic.com. They have their synthetic, I can never say that word, synthetic urine kit, super easy to use. If you got a hair follicle test for a company like, if you have a mouth swab test for a company like Amazon, they got a mouthwash for that. If you got a hair follicle test, they have a shampoo. They have cleansing drinks, urine spiking agents, and more. They offer fast shipping, and they offer a 100% customer satisfaction guarantee. Link in the description box below, so check them out. So let's talk about how markets finished yesterday. Yesterday, the Dow finished down 543 points. NASDAQ finished down 1.47%. The S&P 500 finished down 1.85%. And Bitcoin and Ethereum were both down 6% on the day. Bitcoin broke the $21,000 barrier. Not really sure why. We did have that Silvergate collapse yesterday. And actually, just because crypto can move so quickly, let's take a look over at CoinMarketCap really quickly. Oh, wow. So Bitcoin has actually broken $20,000. As of early in the morning on Friday, March 10th, Bitcoin is sitting at $19,859. Bitcoin is down 8.23% on the 24-hour and 11.2% on the 7-day. Ethereum down to $13.93, broke $1,400, down 9% on the day and down 10.92% on the week. BNB down 7%, XRP down 7%, Cardano down 4%, Polygon down 6.7%. Crypto is down. It'll be interesting to see how crypto fares kind of during this upcoming recession. And again, this is kind of the big story of the day. General Motors wants to buy out, quote unquote, the majority of U.S. office workers. So white-collar jobs. These are high-paying jobs. These are career jobs. We've talked in a lot of these recent videos about how we continue to lose career jobs. We continue to lose white-collar jobs. We continue to lose full-time jobs. All the while, we continue to pick up more and more part-time jobs, more and more service sector jobs, more and more bartender, barista, waiter, retail worker jobs. The type of jobs that don't pay a living wage, the type of jobs where people are having to have 2 and 3 jobs to get full-time hours and still are not able to get by. So this is kind of troubling. And like I kind of said in the lead up to this video, one thing that's kind of weird, how can General Motors afford to get rid of, quote unquote, the majority of first off, what does the majority of 58,000 workers mean? Let's just say for round numbers, let's call it 60,000. So the majority has to be at least over 50%. So, GM could theoretically cut their headcount from say 60,000 to 25,000. But the way that they talked about this and the way that they said majority, I'm going to guess that they're only going to be left with 10 or 20% of the staff after this is done. How can a company like GM continue to operate going from 60,000 employees down to 8,000 employees, 12,000 employees? And if they can operate, why did they have all this dead weight for, God knows how many years previous? GM has already laid off 500 employees. GM is offering a buyout to their employees, and they're strongly suggesting that employees consider or take this buyout. But again, I can't wrap my head around what were most of these people doing. And if a company like GM that actually makes something physical, they actually make cars, they actually manufacture something, if they can afford to get rid of the majority of their staff, how about these companies that don't really make anything? Companies like Snapchat and Facebook and, obviously they make technology, they make tools, but I don't think it takes as many people to do that, as we've seen with like Elon Musk laying off tens of thousands of people, Amazon laying off tens of thousands of people, Twitter laying off tens of thousands of people. I think layoffs are going to get really, really bad as we get further into 2023. Lockheed Martin and Hunter Douglas are also beginning layoffs, and Salesforce, who has already done a couple rounds of job cuts, is laying off hundreds of sales and marketing jobs. And it's bad when you're laying off salespeople, right? At Amazon, we saw they're getting rid of the HR people, they're getting rid of the diversity and inclusion people, kind of useless people who don't really do anything, and they're kind of getting rid of the people who run Alexa, which isn't profitable. But typically, you don't get rid of your salespeople because that's one of the few jobs that it's typically heavily commissioned, so it's not costing you a ton of money. But those are the people actually bringing in the revenue. So in pretty much every day's video, we touch on how many tech companies have laid off employees and how many tech employees have been laid off. To date, 475 tech companies have laid off employees. Total number of tech employees laid off is 127,354. Some of the recent layoffs in the past 48 hours. A company called Zero laid off 800. That's 15% of the company. GoPuff, I am familiar with GoPuff. I see a lot of their YouTube ads. They're kind of like a supermarket or corner store delivery service. They deliver snacks and stuff. They're laying off 100 people, 2% of company. Wave Financial laying off 50. The Morning Brew, I believe that's kind of a financial newsletter, stock newsletter. They're laying off 40. And here's one thing that made me think of, right? So there's a YouTube channel I like called Lord Miles. And he should be way more popular. He's not very politically correct, so he'll never be super popular. Check out his channel. I think his best video is when he went over and hung out with the Taliban. Crazy video. So check him out. But he put out a video yesterday where he went to Snake Island, which is a little island with a lighthouse off of the coast of Brazil. And he kind of joked in the video at one point. He said, Vice magazine or Vice came here, and they did it with about 10 times the amount of people and about 50 times the budget, but I'm coming here on my own today. And basically, he had a travel suitcase full of recording equipment. One of his YouTube followers or YouTube subscribers actually invited him down to Brazil. He helped kind of arrange the boat to get him over there. And Lord Miles went over there on his own. But it's kind of interesting. Why do you need like a multi-million-dollar budget and a multi-million-dollar company like Vice to do what one guy with a GoPro can do, right? And so I think we're going to see a lot of these big financial newsletters, a lot of these big magazines, a lot of these big websites either going under or really trimming staff. When you look at like what one single content creator can do, why do you need these huge bloated organizations to do the same thing? Toucan laid off 100% of the company. Wattpad laid off 15% of the company. Priston Care laid off 300. That's 15% of the company. Zwift laid off 80. That's 15% of the company. And Catch laid off 100% of the company. In the video the past 2 days, we've been talking about this, the Mexican cartel and the Americans from South Carolina who were kidnapped. Two of them kidnapped, 2 of them killed down in a border town kind of near Brownsville, Texas, I think it was. The story keeps getting weirder and weirder. Initially, the reporting on the story was very cloudy. You had half of the media saying they went down for surgery, for cosmetic surgery. You had the other half of the media saying they were going down to buy medications. There were some rumors that at least one person, if not a couple of them in this group, were Bloods gang members. There were some photos floating around online. The media painted it as, oh my gosh, we don't know why this happened. If you look at the media outside of the U.S., the media in the UK and Europe were reporting Americans with lengthy rap sheets for drugs kidnapped and killed in Mexico. And I think one of the people in the group had an arrest or two for selling crack near schools. One of the people in the group had some type of like endangering a child arrest. Their child had gotten a hold of like methamphetamine or cocaine or something like that. And so they had an endangering a child charge. A number of them had criminal records. And so I was kind of thinking like, oh, maybe this was like either straw purchases and gun running or kind of a drug thing. But then, just a couple hours later, 5 guys who were allegedly kind of part of some splinter group of the Gulf Cartel were tied up and dumped in the street, or dumped kind of in the middle of the street in Matamoros, Mexico for authorities. The cartel had written a note apologizing to the government, apologizing to the family of the Mexican woman who was killed in the crossfire, and apologizing to the family of these victims of the South Carolina, what are being referred to as the Tummy Tuck Four. I'm not really sure what's really going on with this story. Could it be just a case of mistaken identity? Sure. But this is bad press for the cartel. The cartel doesn't like heat. This has turned into, a national, if not a worldwide story. So do you think that the cartel couldn't round up 5 innocent people and be like, look, you're going to take the fall or we're going to kill you, and then tie them up and throw them in a square and be like, hey guys, we're so sorry. This was like a rogue splinter group. We didn't actually do this. Like something like that seems like it would be pretty easy to happen. And so I think it'll be interesting in the coming days and coming weeks as we learn more about that story. And kind of following up on that story, Zero Hedge had an article yesterday. The White House rules out designating Mexican cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. So let's think about this. You have a group who decapitates people. You have a group who kills journalists and reporters. You have a group who corrupts the government. A group who murders innocent Americans and Mexicans. A group who takes over industries like the avocado industry or the lime industry. And they're not a terrorist organization. Yet at the same time, the Biden White House recently declared Catholics to be a terrorist organization. If you guys remember a few months back, or maybe within the past year, parents who were going to school board meetings were declared to be domestic terrorists. It's really kind of weird how politically the Biden White House and the Department of Justice are willing to call a lot of like normal, innocent Americans terrorists, but they're unwilling to call Mexican cartels terrorists. That's very weird. It's also very weird how we have such an open border, tens of thousands of people crossing the border per day, illegally, and potentially some of them are people like these cartel members. TikTok has recently started doing search ads, something that they hadn't done before. It almost seems like, as much as I hate TikTok, if you are a marketer, if you have a business, if you have a brand, if you have a product to sell, it almost seems like you have to be on TikTok these days. I think in a video within the past week or two, we had talked about how O'Hare Airport, Chicago's largest airport, one of the largest airports in the country, had turned into basically a homeless encampment. I think it was the Mirror UK or some UK publication that had shown O'Hare. And I mean, it looks like a refugee camp at O'Hare. I recently had just flown. I actually just got back from Florida, although I flew out of Midway. Midway isn't as close to the city, and also O'Hare is connected to Chicago by, I believe it's a blue line, so it's pretty easy for homeless people to make their way over to O'Hare, not quite as much so at Midway, and Midway just isn't as large of an airport. But basically, I mean, people had their shoes off, they had all their stuff spread out, they had a little camp set up inside of O'Hare Airport. A publication or website called Block Club Chicago had an article yesterday. O'Hare Airport, quote-unquote, flushed out by people experiencing homelessness after being kicked out of O'Hare. And, it's sad. We don't want people out in the cold, but at the same time, we can't have the airport turning into a homeless encampment. I think it just shows that Chicago needs a better support system for homeless people, better shelters, etc. This is kind of interesting. So in recent weeks, we've talked a lot about the Norfolk Southern train derailments, obviously the biggest one being in East Palestine, Ohio, although apparently they've had like 6 major ones over the past 6 months. Right before the CEO of Norfolk Southern spoke the other day, a train in Alabama derailed, sending 30 cars off the rails. And this is kind of a crazy stat, but apparently there are about 3 train derailments per day. I always thought like rail travel and trains were kind of a safe mode of transportation, but apparently not. Right after the East Palestine thing came out, Mayor Pete took a break from his tour talking about how we have too many white construction workers, to say that, we got 500 train derailments per day. What's the big deal? Let's see, CNBC article, the Fed expects to have a strong month for hiring and wages announced for February. And this is bad for the Fed. They don't want this, and we're likely going to see a 50 basis hike at the next Fed meeting. Elon Musk is apparently planning on building a utopia-style town called Snailbrook, which is going to be outside of Austin, Texas. He kind of wants to make one of these employee towns where employees can live and work, shop at employee stores. He says people will be able to live there and pay below market rents. And this kind of reminds me of, kind of back in the early 1900s and probably even late 1800s. You had a lot of these company towns. I know my grandpa used to work for the Pullman Railcar Company on the far south side of Chicago. And Pullman is basically a rail town. You had all these row houses. The factory was, kind of right at the edge of the neighborhood. The Pullman company ran the stores. So you would get your paycheck and you would spend your paycheck at the stores. You would rent your house from the Pullman company. In a lot of situations, it's kind of a way for companies to take advantage and get all the paychecks back from the employees. It looks like Elon Musk is looking to do something similar. If you guys know any more about that, you can comment on it. We recently learned that Singapore has boosted their gold reserves by 30% in a single month. Makes you wonder what they know that we don't know. The Rothschilds also took their bank private this year. The Vatican has pulled all their money out of the markets. Banks are bulking up their reserves. Credit card companies are bulking up their reserves. What do these companies know? What do these entities know? What do these organizations know that we don't know? Everybody in the know seems to be preparing for a rough year. Are you prepared for a rough year? Credit card interest rates currently are between 20 and 30% at all-time highs. And think about this. The average American has $5,800 in credit card debt, and half of the country makes less than $33,000 per year. Think about that. Somebody making less than $33,000 per year potentially has $5,800 or more in credit card debt. That's absolutely insane. And it's not sustainable. Excuse me. We kind of talked about the Biden tax hikes yesterday. We're learning more about these. Biden wants to tax billionaires, a 25% minimum tax. Americans making over $400,000, their tax rate will go from 39.6%. Will go to 39.6% from 37%, and the corporate tax rate would become 28%. Thought this was odd. Burlington, Vermont is passing legislation to let non-citizens vote. Another interesting article. This one comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter. Apparently, during the Mexican beer cough period, we lost 2,000 movie screens. 2,000 movie screens vanished during the pandemic. That's a loss of 5% of all the movie screens in the country. And a recent study came out and found that viewers place a higher value on movies that debut in the theater as opposed to movies that come directly into your home. I've been wanting to see the movie Cocaine Bear. And, these days it's like almost every movie winds up coming straight to the home to where you can watch it from home. And Cocaine Bear was a movie that went straight to the theaters, which is kind of ironic because Cocaine Bear is kind of like Sharknado. It's kind of like a garbage, silly movie. And that's one of the movies that goes to the theater, yet you have kind of like mainstream, big star movies going directly to the home. It's kind of weird. It seems like a lot of people have lost their appetite for going to the movies. A lot of people would just rather watch a movie at home. They don't want to have to deal with other people. They don't want to have to leave the house. So it'll be interesting to see how movie theaters fare over the coming years. But Hollywood is saying that you can't have these large movie budgets without in-theater movies, right? You can't have these big, huge, expensive productions if the movies are just going to go straight to people's homes. And they also said that increases piracy of movies. We've been seeing kind of a flurry of articles about an epidemic of e-bike fires. People's houses are burning down, garages are burning down, retail stores are burning down, apartments are burning down from e-bikes. It kind of reminds me of back when hoverboards were crazy, back in late 2016, early 2017. Hoverboards were catching fire in everybody's homes. And over the past couple of years, there's been a flurry of articles about how e-books are going to save the world. E-books are going to cut down on emissions and global warming. Even though lithium batteries are terrible for the environment in themselves, and the power that you get from them typically comes from burning fossil fuels. But the media was acting like e-bikes are kind of the savior of the world, and apparently they're catching on fire everywhere. Zero Hedge had an article, what rent drop New York median rent rises for the 18th consecutive month to $4,095. Average rent in New York City is $4,095. That's absolutely crazy. I think in yesterday's video, we had talked about how the average earning New York City family is going to spend 69% of their income on rent. How do you become financially stable? How do you save up for a down payment if nearly 70% of your money is going to pay for your rent? New York City is a city that, during and following the Mexican beer cough, was really struggling. Everybody wanted to leave. A lot of people moving to Florida or moving to other areas of the country. But New York City is seeing a resurgence. Saw an interesting article yesterday. Dollar Tree dinners. A TikToker goes viral after showing how to cook meals for just $35 per week. How to eat for $35 per week. Shopping at the Dollar Tree. The girl featured in the article, or featured in this piece, was Rebecca Chobats. Her TikTok videos are made for budget-conscious shoppers, and her audience has grown to 742,000 followers or subscribers. And well, I don't know that I would want to eat all my food from the Dollar Tree. Her meals were actually better looking than I expected. And, I kind of almost expected all processed foods and garbage. She did have some, frozen vegetables, frozen fruits, beans, rice. It probably not a diet I would choose for myself, but it wasn't as terrible as I would have expected. And last piece of news for the day, the Oscars rejected Zelensky, who had wanted to appear at the Oscars. It seems that American support for Ukraine and throwing good money after bad is waning. I think most people don't want to go to a war. Recently, Zelensky had come out and said that he wanted to draft Americans' children to go fight for Ukraine. I don't know about you. I have no desire to go lose my life for Ukraine or Israel or Lockheed Martin or BlackRock or anybody else. Most Americans don't want war. We want peace. Zelensky is making a lot of appearances, right? He went on the New York Stock Exchange, the Cannes and Venice Film Festival, the Grammys, the Golden Globes. He's trying to raise money, and I think ultimately Zelensky wants to try to create an American acting career for himself. I would not be shocked if in the next 2 to 3 years, all of a sudden Zelensky is an American actor appearing in a bunch of Hollywood movies. We'll see how that winds up playing out. Anyhow, guys, that's kind of all the stories for the day. Not a super, super exciting news day, but hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a comment down below. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Oh, man, I'm messing up this outro. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. As always, I would love to hear your thoughts, comments, and opinions on everything we've discussed in today's video, so drop a comment down below. And if you're not subscribed to the channel and want to get kind of daily updates on the news, business stories, the economy, and all things going on in the world, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and ring the bell as well. Anyhow, guys, that's all I got for you guys. I will catch you on the next video. Peace. I'm out.